Okay, anyway, time is 9:30. I'll call the meeting, February 12th meeting of Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. If you would please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Something we have not made mention of in the past meetings, just want to let everybody know that WQLN, of course, is recording these meetings, and they are broadcast on the Millcreek Government Channel, which is 1025, I believe, on the Spectrum Channel, and also via YouTube. Both of those channels have been enabled for closed captioning. So just in case somebody is wondering if closed captioning is available, it is on both of those networks, both the Spectrum and also on YouTube when they are available for broadcast. So moving on, item number 3 is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Do we have any public comment on any of the agenda items? Okay, being none, we'll move on to the next one, which is number 4. There's a young man in our audience here, Mr. Jacob Gustafson, a McDowell High School student. We'd like to have you come forward if you would, and if you'd like to take a stand there at the podium there. And I'm going to turn this part over to our liaison to the Public Safety Departments, Supervisor Jim Buck. He's got a few words for you there.
Thanks, John. Yep. Jerry Smith from MPS, could you come up as well? I'm going to read just a brief excerpt from the GoErie.com article dated January 30th of this year. A McDowell High School student helped save a woman's life Monday. Jacob Gustafson, 17, a volunteer and intern with the Millcreek's Westridge Fire Department, performed chest compressions on an elderly woman in cardiac arrest. The Westridge Emergency Medical Services team additionally used a defibrillator to help restart the woman's heart. Jacob Gustafson continued CPR while the woman was lifted onto a stretcher and into an ambulance. I know I've performed CPR myself in the field, and it's exhausting. It's mentally and physically exhausting. So we're here to honor these two individuals today for what they've done, and I'd like maybe if you could just give a brief synopsis of the day and what occurred there.
So basically a quick synopsis would be everybody pretty much did their part really well. There's nothing like everything pretty much went 100% correctly between the paramedic Jerry. He did everything. I noticed a couple of things he was doing that I actually didn't recognize, but they actually ended up being a really good intervention that was made. And I have to thank the Westridge Fire Department for letting me go on to do the internship, you should say. And also like to say thank you for the recognition. And so it's been a lot, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you. Yeah, we're quite proud of the McDowell students and the internship program, and of course, our emergency and medical services and fire departments here in Millcreek Township. And working with Jerry, you're working with one of the best there. Of course, the whole team is the best, but working directly with Jerry, you're one of the best there. So, Jerry, do you have a word or two you might want to say about young Jacob?
It was a good team effort throughout, the IRT crew, the volunteers, 911 center doing pre-arrivals, explaining how to do CPR through the phone, gave us a viable patient to work with. And,
Okay.
Great team effort throughout. It's what we train for, it's what we do.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And the outcome was the best it could be.
Right.
So.
Well, that's good. Just for clarification, you, Jacob, you are a volunteer firefighter, a junior firefighter, but you're also serving an internship through McDowell High School. And I see your counselor is out there, Mrs. Crystal Myers is out there, and she's part of this internship program that has helped a lot of students get experience. Of course, we have one of the students here on our board here with us too, so it's something that goes out to McDowell and of course to everybody else there that's involved in this. So we just want to give you some recognition. John, do you have any words you might want to add? Or?
Well, I think Mr. Bach and Mr. Gray, you covered it, but again, we thank you for your service. Thank you for the excellent work you've done, and we certainly appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the good things keep happening here. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Bach here for a second. We have the administration of oath of office for a new Millcreek Township police officer, Patrolman Brian Shapter.
Right, Brian's,
We don't have him here yet.
he worked last
works?
night, midnight shift,
We're
so
paging him throughout the building.
evidently there has been a sighting within the building, so we're just waiting for Officer Shafter
Okay, so-
to come so we can,
I'll tell
do
you.
we have him? Okay,
Gooch, okay.
okay.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to table the item till later in the meeting.
Okay, let's do that. Let's move on to item number 6. Okay, and it still continues good things. Okay, Jim, back to you.
Okay, we have a 100th birthday proclamation to acknowledge today. There are 2 birthdays, actually, twin sisters turning 100 on February 19th, so 1 week from today, they'll be turning 100. Natalie Raybell and Sheila Moreland are both turning 100. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today due to weather concerns and other issues. They weren't able to make the trip. But to accept these proclamations on their behalf is Patty Amon and Marcia Raybell. If you could please come up. Thank you. Okay, this is a proclamation for Sheila Moreland. I believe that's your mom. Okay. And she was born on February 19th, 1919 in Jeanette, and one of 4 daughters. Her parents were immigrants from the Ukraine. She attended school in the Albion School District and married and moved to Erie in the early 1950s. 2 daughters, Pat and Audrey. And in addition to being a wife and mother, she worked for the school district for many years until her retirement. And she's been a blessing to all who's come in contact with her over the past 100 years. So we'd like to present this proclamation to you on her behalf. And we also have her twin sister, Natalie, was born obviously in Jeanette as well, and married for 50 years to Norman Rabel, and 2 sons, Dennis and Bob, 5 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild, and worked for the Girard Battles Bank for 10 years and owned and worked for her husband, Rabel and Sons Construction, for 30 years. And I'll present this to you on her behalf as well. Thank you, and tell them both we're sorry they couldn't be with us today, but happy birthday to them. And okay. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 7, approval of the minutes from our previous meeting of January 22nd. Any additions or corrections? And if not, do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes?
And I vote yes. Okay, item number 8 is approval of the bills. Of course, you have the list of the bills, and there was one more that was added today. Any questions about any of those? If not, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes?
Mr. Morgan? How do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 9, capital budget amendment request. And let's see, refer this over to Mark.
Yes, the first one is an item that was approved at the prior meeting on the 26th of January for the Wolf Run pipelining. We had a line item in the capital budget that wasn't specific to project, it was just stormwater system maintenance for $100,000. We're applying the $19,594 cost of the pipelining to that project, and the balance remains in the stormwater maintenance line item of the capital budget at $80,406.
Okay. Any questions from among the board? If not, call for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the capital budget amendment as presented.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes on that there. Okay,
One more.
there's one more there.
The next one is, and this goes to a list of projects that come up under bids and quotations. There's a line item in the budget for a lowboy trailer for the streets department at $94,500. The actual bid price that was received was $82,485.65, leaving a excess budget of $12,014.35. The streets department has requested that a portion of that excess be applied to the stick welder. The stick welder they had died, and Gary can fill you in on more details. But the total acquisition cost, including accessories of that item, is $30,051.01. And we're going to apply that to the $12,000, leaving an unallocated capital budget reserve of $8,963.34.
Okay, any questions? Call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we will amend the capital budget to create this new line item with the note that approving the purchase will not be done until the next item on the agenda, approving bids and quotations.
Okay. Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 10, bids and quotations. First one is a township waste and recyclable collection at designated Millcreek Township facilities bid announcement. And that comes from our Public Services Department, but I think we'll have Mark handle that. Are you able to handle that, Mark? Mark Shaw?
I didn't know I was.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Should we have Judy?
Or Judy or Jesse?
Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On the Township Waste and Recyclable Collection at designated Millcreek Township facilities, we did send out requests for bids. We received one bid from Advanced Disposal, who is a credible hauler, and they have met all of the bid specs.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Shaw, any questions or comments or that we need to be aware of on this?
I think the amount of the bid, based on the projections, is, how much is it again?
I don't have those figures in front of me. I didn't know. $2,000 a year is what we kind of projected.
Yeah.
And the bid was put out in a fashion where there are various dumpsters that the township has, and they're put in various sizes, and they're picked up at various times. So there's some projections that were made in terms of projected cost of the project. The amounts seem to be within line of expectations, and as I recall, less than what the township has been spending for the disposal of these items. And again, I do believe the number was in the 18,000 range in terms of the projected annual cost of this agreement, which I believe is a 3-year agreement. Is that correct? Or 2-year agreement?
And the one thing that we were concerned with is they will be collecting all recyclables, including glass.
Okay.
Ms. Lyon, I think that, if I remember correctly, the glass issue is probably why we only received the one bid. They're the only kind of qualified hauler that's still collecting glass. Is that accurate?
Only because the recycling facility that Advanced Disposal uses is in Buffalo, and they do take our glass and they do reuse it.
I did find the reference in the agenda to the annual amount at $16,014.96.
Sorry, I
Is the
apologize.
projected annual amount.
Okay. Okay. So that is the action before us is to approve or reject that contract. Okay. Okay, any questions among the board? No?
Just as long as Mr. Shaw and Ms. Lyon or Mr. Krzyzewski don't have any concerns about only having one bidder on it.
I think given that the amount's actually less than what we've been paying currently, and the numbers don't appear to be, out of line in terms of what we would expect, I would certainly recommend proceeding with the award.
Okay. Okay, then. Well, that's it, to call for a motion.
I'll move to approve the bid from Advanced Disposal.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I'll also vote yes on that. Thank you. The next one under bids and quotations is a sweeper unit. This is from Public Works Department, Streets. Gary Snyder.
Good morning, gentlemen. We are seeking permission to purchase a Johnston sweeper unit to be mounted on an international chassis. This unit, price of this unit is $152,109.37. This is a CoStar's purchase from U.S. Municipal, contract number 025-019, and is a budgeted item. It would be my recommendation to purchase this sweeper unit from U.S. Municipal for the CoStar's contract of 025-019 for the price of $152,109.37.
Okay. And just for clarification and for the record, the one that we have is what, 20 years old?
Yes,
The current one, and it's lived more than its life should be, so we've had that thing cripple along there, so it's time to get a new one, so. Okay. Any questions among the board here? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Snyder, I'm just curious, is this under budget for what we budgeted for the capital fund, or?
I believe so.
I'd make a motion to approve the purchase.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next one is the cabin chassis for the sweeper unit. Once again, back to you, Gary.
Yes, we are seeking permission to purchase a cabin chassis to mount the sweeper unit on from Five Star International for the price of $78,716.26. This is also a CoStar's purchase. The contract number is 025-005 MV, excuse me.
Yeah.
This is a budgeted item. I do believe this came right on budget. We're expected to pay for this, and it would be my recommendation to purchase that cabin chassis from Five Star.
Okay. Okay. Any questions among the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Just to let you know that
Okay.
these two items together will be put together in a bid package for financing. It was originally in the budget to be financed over 5 years, and that'll probably show up next time around.
Okay.
It just takes a long time to get these things on order and then finally purchased.
Right, yes. Hopefully we get it in time for the summer season, so. Okay.
Excellent.
Yep. I entertain a motion from anybody?
I'll move to approve the purchase.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next item is floor repair in garage number 2, Public Works Department. Back to you, Gary.
We are looking to replace a section of floor in Garage 2. This is where a lift once was. It was an in-ground lift. The lift is no longer working and can't be fixed. As we are always looking for more space to work on vehicles, we'd like to replace this, and the floor would need leveled up after the lift is taken out. We solicited quotes for this. We had Austin Concrete came in, measured the floor. We never received a quote. When we called Austin's, they couldn't tell us who the person was that even came out and measured it. They had no clue.
Okay.
We tried Montagna Concrete. Secretary said that they would send somebody out. That was 2 months ago. We've
Okay.
never seen anybody.
Okay.
The third quote we got from Maya Brothers for a cost of $4,075. So it would be my recommendation that we have the floor repaired by Maya Brothers
Okay.
Construction for the $4,075.
Okay. Okay, any questions among the board?
Mr. Snyderson, was this a planned expense, or is this kind of an emergency expense that we need to come up?
I think it was a planned expense, but it's almost like a carryover from last year. It was something that we kind of ran out of money, we just never.
Okay. I guess my question is, do we need to amend the capital budget to cover these, or is this?
I'd have to see whether it was in building maintenance expense too, because it is,
As an operational expense?
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Snyder, I noticed on the documentation, there were two areas that were quoted, Area 1 for $2,400 and Area 2 for $4,075. I assume this deals only with Area 2?
Correct, the Area 1 was done last year.
Okay. Any other questions? Call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the cement work in Garage 2.
Okay. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, the next item is carpet replacement, but I understand we're going to table that, is that? Because we
Yes.
don't, yeah, we've changed, it's going to a smaller area of
In a
carpet.
smaller area, and we've not
Okay.
received a quote on that area.
Okay, so
I'd
I
like to
think,
table it to the next meeting.
okay, we need an action on that,
So moved.
okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
Vote yes?
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, that'll be tabled to our next meeting. Hopefully, we'll have a number on that. Next item is a survey vehicle for the Planning and Development Department. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Good morning. The Planning and Development Department has been looking for a new vehicle to replace the former survey vehicle that died last year. The radiator exploded. Joe Yatzer, the Bureau Chief of the Garage, has found a 2019 Chevrolet Suburban that meets all the requirements of the survey crew and can fit all of the survey equipment. This vehicle is on the CoStar's purchasing program with a price of $44,895. It's my recommendation that the board approve the purchase of a white 2019 Chevrolet Suburban from Dave Hallman Chevrolet for the CoStar's price of $44,895. This is a budgeted equipment purchase in the planning and development budget.
Okay. Okay, any questions on the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the purchase.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes. That other vehicle that we had, that was what, 20 years old?
It was 20 years
That
old.
yellow van, that window van?
Yeah, and
that,
it was, right, it was
and we
sold
just
for scrap, I
Sold
think,
it for
earlier
scrap?
this year.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, yeah. So it got a good life out of that there, so hopefully you get the same thing out of this one. Okay. Next item.
Don't ask for another one for another 20 years.
Yeah, don't ask for another 20 years there, Matt, okay? Yeah. Okay. Next item is a flatbed lowboy trailer, Public Works Department. Gary Snyder.
Yes, we're seeking permission to purchase a 50-ton lowboy trailer for hauling our bigger pieces of equipment for the streets department. This goes along with the Mack tractor we purchased late last year. This would be a CoStar's purchase from Stevenson Equipment for $82,485.65. This is just about a $10,000 under budget purchase. The CoStar's contract number is 44000-19968. This is a budgeted item. I believe this will also be an item that is financed.
No, not this one.
Oh, not this one? Okay. So it would be my recommendation that we purchase this from Stevenson Equipment under the CoStar's program for $82,485.65.
Okay. Any questions? Being none, I'll entertain a motion. Somebody?
I'll make a motion to approve that purchase.
Okay. Jim?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Okay, and I also vote yes. Okay. Then our last item under bids and quotes is a stick welder, once again, Public Works. Gary?
Okay, we're seeking permission to replace a stick welder in the streets department. The one we had, Tara has died.
Okay.
It is a welder that we use for building our storm sewer grates. The other type of welder we have just doesn't work well for doing that.
Okay.
So we're asking permission to replace it with a new one from Welder Supply for the cost of $2,913.46. We did seek quotes on that item, and the first one was from Lincoln Electric. This was an internet quote for $2,984.53. The second one was also from Lincoln on an internet quote. It was $2,980 and no cents. And the last one was from Welder Supply for $2,913.46. So it would be my recommendation to purchase this welder from Welder Supply
Okay.
at the cost of $2,913.46.
Okay. Sounds good. Any questions among the board?
We have a revised price on that. I don't know if you,
The reason for that is the basic unit is what they got the price on, and then when they actually went to get place a final order, there's other pieces. Apparently, there's some sort of cable, a power cable lug, electrode holder, steel clamp. That whole package then becomes the unit. But the basic unit is really the cost here.
it looks like it's only about $138.
Yeah, there's
Yeah. Okay.
you can't really all run the welder without a cable.
That's right. So with that adjusted price, do I hear a motion to approve the purchase?
I'll make that motion to approve the purchase.
Okay, do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Mr. Chairman, I can't recall if Mr. Buck, could you state the actual new price?
Okay.
I thought Mark did. The new price I have is $3,051.01.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Item number 11, notification of land development plan exclusion. Turn this over to Matt Waldinger.
Thank you. The township was contacted by Spring Hill. They wish to expand their building to include a therapy pool. The expansion will go over an existing concrete patio that is outside of the unit, or outside of the building at the current time. The new addition will be approximately 4,000 square feet. That falls under the ability of the Board of Supervisors at their discretion to award a land development exclusion. They do not, it will not modify their drive or street access. It will not alter the existing traffic volume classification, and it does not materially alter the use of the premises. So we're asking that the board provide a land development exclusion for Spring Hill in order to add this 4,000 square feet to their building. They will still have to abide by all township regulations and stormwater.
Okay. Okay, any questions among the board?
Mr. Waldinger, I'm curious. The exclusions, I believe, your office has administrative authority, but in this instance, you don't. Can you
There are
explain,
certain-
can you explain what the difference is between this and, for example, like the last meeting, it was administrative action?
Yeah, there are certain additions, such as an accessory building, that are excluded just by right by the ordinance.
Okay.
And those, when those come up, I just notify the board that those exclusions have been granted.
Right.
This exclusion falls under the section of the ordinance that allows the supervisors the discretion to either grant it or not.
But what's the difference? Why is it triggered that?
Because this is not an accessory building, this is actually an extension of the building over
Gotcha.
a certain square footage that falls within this supervisor's discretion area.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the land development exclusion for Spring Hill.
Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Yes?
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Item number 12 is presentation of the 2018 Planning Commission report, and that will come from Matt Puzz, our Zoning and Planning Officer. Mr. Puzz.
Good morning.
Hi.
At the regular meeting, the Planning Commission's regular meeting on February 5th, 2019, the Planning Commission approved the annual report, the 2018 report. I'm here to read it for the record. The Millcreek Township Planning Commission is the active planning agency for the township. Responsibilities of the Planning Commission are numerous, including making recommendations on several matters, including land development plans, subdivisions, rezonings, and ordinance amendments. The following is a summary of the Planning Commission's activities over the 2018 year. There were 11 meetings of the Planning Commission this year. There was no meeting held in June. The Planning Commission reviewed and made recommendations on 13 subdivisions, 8 land developments, 7 rezonings, 1 conditional use, 1 street vacation, and 2 ordinance amendments. The Planning Commission was also heavily involved in the recently adopted Millcreek Township Comprehensive Plan, Embrace Millcreek. Of particular note, the Planning Commission has been actively updating Article 7 of the Millcreek Township zoning ordinance. A public hearing was held in December to accept public comments regarding the proposed changes and was a success. The Planning Commission would like to make the following recommendations to the Board of Supervisors for the 2019 year. 1, update the zoning ordinance to be consistent with the new comprehensive plan. 2, update the subdivision and land development ordinance to be consistent with the new comprehensive plan. And 3, update the zoning map to be consistent with the future land use plan in the new comprehensive plan. And that's respectfully submitted by Chairman Eugene Strohmeyer and Secretary Dave Skelly.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Puzz.
Any questions or comments? I'm sure John, of course, the EIP study for phase 2.
Right, yeah. Well, first of all, I want to commend our Planning Commission that did really a lot of heavy lifting this past year in terms of developing the comprehensive plan, really instrumental in that effort, starting back in 2017, actually. So I think our Millcreek Township Planning Commission is doing some exceptional work. As far as the recommendations for this coming year, I think they're absolutely right, and I'm glad they're encouraging us to update our zoning code and our saldo to be consistent with the new plan. We have applied for grant funding to try and get half the cost of those updates covered by the state EIP program. We did submit that application last month. We did hear back that they're under review, and it's very likely that we'll receive at least some funding for those efforts. So hopefully we'll be able to kick off those zoning and saldo updates this year. So that's where we're at with that, gentlemen. And again, I want to thank the Planning Commission and Mr. Puzz, Mr. Waldinger, and Ms. Maggio for their work with the Planning Commission this past year. I think it's really been a great year for those guys. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
And with that, I'll make a motion to accept the Planning Commission report.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes?
And Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
And I vote yes, too. Okay. Let's see here. Item number 13, proposed ordinance 2019-3, an ordinance of the Township of Millcreek, amending ordinance 2018-11 by extending the closing of the issuance of a $390,000 general obligation note, the proceeds which will be used for a storm sewer replacement project, by removing the provision that the note be issued on or before February 1st. Mr. Bach, Mr. Shaw, can you
Sure, this is simply amending the ordinance that was passed 2018-11, which relates to the borrowing that was associated with the Wolf Run sewer storm sewers replacement project. It had contained a closing date for when the loan would close. That obviously did not occur, and so we're simply amending the ordinance, just kind of cleaning house to remove that portion of the ordinance so that that doesn't create any potential issues. So I would recommend approval.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, being none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-3.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Yes?
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 14, new or amended ordinances under review. Of course, as you can see on there, the sign ordinance amendment, we're still working, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Puzz, I'm sorry, I completely forgot there. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Good morning. The Planning and Development Office with the Planning Commission has been actively working on amending the sign ordinance. The Planning Commission had made a recommendation back in January for their proposed amendments after taking in some additional comment. Substantial changes have been made to that, what the Planning Commission proposed, so at this time we would be recommending to send the proposed changes back to the Planning Commission for their recommendations in concurrence with the municipalities planning code.
Okay, so you're asking for, to be forwarded, so we have to take an action to refer it back to the Planning Commission.
Correct.
Okay, any questions or comments before we call for a motion on that? Okay, call for a motion on that to refer this back to the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion to refer the sign ordinance amendments for review to the Planning Commission.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes on that. Item number 15, Resolution 2019-R9, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015-R20 and the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. And let me pull that up there. Mr. Zahaski, do you have any comments on that?
No, this is the usual dash cam video deletions
Yeah.
from now until the next meeting. These are records that have gone beyond the 180-day retention period, and just seeking permission to routinely get rid of those.
Okay. Let me pull it up here. I've got quite a ways to go to get there. You have it there in front of you, John?
I have.
Okay. And this would be dash cam videos to be deleted between February 12th and February 26th, reaching the end of the retention period. And that's all of the records we have, right?
Correct.
Okay, no paper documents, okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move we approve Resolution 2019-R9.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 16, Resolution 2019-R10, a resolution adopting an administrative policy for the purchase card issuance and use. Mr. Zaheski, can you comment on that, or do you have comments on that, or should I refer it over to Mark?
Actually, 16 is the resolution adopting the card program with Pliget, PFM Financial Services. This is the agreement that was passed to sign last time, but they insist on having their specific resolution authorizing the entire program.
Okay,
So this is really just a little bit of cleanup from the approval for signing the agreement with the bank that actually has the cards.
okay. So just to make sure I have this right here, it's item number 16 on the agenda, Resolution 2019-R-10.
Yes,
Okay, so that's what we're acting on here. And this is per their request of a sample resolution. They want us to fill it in with our...
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, any questions or comments?
And we did
Mr. Shaw?
review it and make some revisions to make it applicable to our situation.
Okay, then.
I think just to clarify, Mark, so that this procurement card, essentially, it's township issued credit cards for management personnel to make purchases with.
that is correct.
Okay. Do I hear a motion on that?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2019-R10.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 17, Resolution 2011, is it 2011 dash?
2019, sorry.
2019, okay, yeah, it's a typo there, okay. 2019 R11, a resolution adopting an administrative policy for purchase card issuance and the use. Okay.
Okay, this is the resolution adopting the actual policy for obtaining and using the cards within the township, accounting for the purchases. It's the entire process of maintaining control over the program.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Being none, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2019 R11.
And do I hear a second?
I will second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Item number 18 is Wolf Run Settlement. Mr. Shaw, do you have any comments?
Yes, as a result of the landslide that had occurred due to a storm water pipe break last summer and the repair work that ensued, the landscaping and driveway of the backyard of the residents at 5144 Wolf Run Drive was damaged. In order to repair the damage and cover other additional costs incurred by the residents of that address, as well as acquiring the necessary easements to do the work and ensure access to future maintenance, we have come to an agreement with the residents through which the township will contribute $30,000 towards those costs and easements acquisition. In exchange, the residents will execute a release of all claims associated with the event and will grant an additional easement needed for maintenance access through the new landscaping area that will be created. And I would recommend that the supervisors approve this agreement and the payment of $30,000.
Okay, then. Questions, comments? Okay. Call for a motion to approve as recommended.
I'll move to approve the settlement.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I will second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
Vote yes?
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Next item is, give me a second here. Item number 19, Millcreek Township Sewer Authority approval request for the Norfolk and Southern Railway assignment application and fee. Mr. Shaw.
Yes, the day after our last meeting, we were contacted by representatives of Norfolk Southern regarding the transfer of 5 licenses that are currently held by the Millcreek Township Sewer Authority to the township. Norfolk Southern requires that an assignment application be submitted and that a check in the amount of $750 payable to Norfolk Southern Railway Company be provided with that application. And I would recommend that the application be authorized to be submitted and that a check in the amount of $750 to Norfolk Southern be approved.
Okay. Questions? Being none, call for a motion. Do I hear a motion to act on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the sublease assignment application.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Is that
Can I
not
also-
what we're voting on?
I guess I would request also to authorize the amount, the
Oh.
$750.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that was all under the same there, okay, including the $750 fee.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 20, let's see here, that is the McDowell Detention Basin Emergency Action Plan. Matt Waldinger.
Thank you. There are 2 flood control facilities in the township that the township maintains that meet the requirements of a dam, either for the height of the walls or the amount of water that they impound. So they meet the requirement of being considered a dam and fall under the Department of Environmental Protection's Dams and Waterways Bureau. We are required to have emergency action plans for any potential failure of those 2 facilities. One of those is the McDowell Detention Basin just north of McDowell Intermediate School. Emma George in my office, along with Caleb Dixon, have prepared this emergency action plan to meet the requirements of the Department of Environmental Protection. We would recommend that the board accept and approve the plan so that we can send it to the department for their final approval.
Okay. Any questions or comments among the board? If not, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the McDowell Detention Basin Emergency Action Plan.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 21, sidewalk deferral request for 4846 Tramerlack Lane, Patricia Salvador and Prabhav Patel are the developers. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Yes, we were contacted by the owners of 4846 Tramerlack Lane. They purchased the lot and they are looking to build a home on that lot. They have requested a sidewalk deferral for the sidewalk Looking at the area, there are no other sidewalks anywhere along Tramerlack, including the cul-de-sac in which they reside. So the Planning and Development Department does recommend approval of the sidewalk deferral agreement. And just as a reminder, this just defers the construction requirement for the sidewalk. They would still be responsible for it if the time that the township wanted it to be in place ever came.
Yeah, so at a future date, other ones be constructed, so is this one, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Questions, comments? Being none, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the sidewalk deferral request for 4846 Tramerlack Lane.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I will second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 22, Stormwater Maintenance Plan and Agreement Request for the Sonic Drive and Cafaro Peach Creek Joint Ventures Partnership as the developer. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you again. Yeah, the township has received approval of Sonic Stormwater Management Plan from Greenwood Peterson Incorporated. Peach Creek Joint Ventures has also submitted the proper, the township required stormwater maintenance agreement where they abide by our ordinance and agree to maintain the system. So the Planning and Development Department would recommend that the Board of Supervisors approve the stormwater management plan and accept the agreement.
Okay. Questions, comments? Being none, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the plan, accept the agreement.
Okay, here a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 23, sewage facilities planning module request. Appleman and Martin Roads, Charles and Richard Lipchick are the developers. Matt. Matt Waldinger.
Thank you. Yes, we were contacted by the owner's engineer. The Lipchicks are looking to divide the property that they own between Appleman and Martin Roads. It's currently approximately 60 acres, and they are looking to divide it into two 30-acre lots. To comply with both the county subdivision rules and the township subdivision rules, each of those lots must have a valid septic site approved on them in order to be subdivided. What they have approached us with is an application from the DEP for the township to sign off that we have no issues with them issuing a septic site for each of those lots if approved. This is not an approval by the township saying that those sites are valid. It's just saying that we do not have a problem if they meet the requirements that they have septic systems on each of those lots.
Okay.
So that there's no sewer lines up to that way?
There's no sewer lines that are available. There's some on Martin further north, but the elevation is such that they can't connect to them.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, John? Any more? Okay. So just for clarification, we're not putting ourselves on the hook for issuing this. We're just saying we have no
Correct.
no
We're
concerns.
saying we have no problem if they meet all the requirements of the County Department of Health
Right.
and the DEP.
Right, yeah, because we're not the issuing authority for this. Yeah. Okay.
So, Mr. Walden, what's the vote you're asking for us to take right now?
Authorize the chairman to sign the application.
All right. I would move to authorize the chairman to sign the application.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 24 is a January 2019 building construction report. Matt Waldinger.
Thank you very much. In January of 2019, the township had no permits for new structures. We did have one permit for a residential addition and two permits for commercial remodel. The total cost of all of those permits, or I'm sorry, the total construction cost of the permits was $813,000, resulting in 3 permits issued for a total zoning permit fee to the township of $1,250. This report will be available later today online and is also available in paper copy in the Planning and Development Office.
Okay, that's good. Okay, item, let's see here, under communications, number 25, treasurer communications. Mark Jaheski, anything?
Just that our auditors have begun their field work, and it'll take them a little while to get everything wrapped up.
Right, okay, sounds good. Okay, zoning hearing board, to you, John, zoning hearing board resignation?
And Mr. Chairman, we received a letter from Mr. William Bridger, one of the members of our zoning hearing board. Stating that it was with deep regret, he informs us that he must resign from the ZHB effective March 1st, 2019. States that after living our whole lives in Millcreek Township, my wife and I are retiring, relocating to Eagle, Idaho, to be with our children and grandchildren. So we wish Mr. Bridger well in his retirement, and would just like to notify the board that there is a vacancy on the zoning hearing board. After conferring with staff and members of the board, I would suggest we consider appointing Bob Tanner, the current alternate, to fill that full seat. That'd be my recommendation, and also notifying the public that there will be a vacancy either on the full board or as an alternate position, if anyone's interested in applying for the zoning hearing board.
Okay. You want to put that in the form of a motion then?
If
Is that what you?
if you gentlemen are comfortable with Mr. Tanner being appointed today,
I have no problem with that.
comfortable with that.
Okay, so you made the motion. Do I hear a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes, too.
So with
Okay.
that, there is a vacancy in the alternate position of the zoning hearing board. If anyone in the public would like to apply, simply contact the board or Mr. Waldinger or Ms. Williams with a resume and letter of interest.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's see here. New hiring request from the Human Resource Department. You going to handle that, John?
Cover that as well.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we had a vacancy in our Fleet Maintenance Bureau for a new mechanic. I know Mr. Snyder and Mr. Yatzer and Ms. Lyons led the interview process, and this is the final recommendation. This would be to hire Mr. Kevin Scalise to the position of mechanic at the starting rate of $19.95 per hour, with effective date of February 11th, 2019. Mr. Scalise has 3 years' experience with PennDOT as diesel mechanic, has a Class A CDL and Class 7 inspection license. Mr. Snyder, is there anything else you'd like to add about Mr. Scalise?
No, I don't think so. We've vetted these candidates pretty well, and Mr. Scalise comes at the top of the list.
Okay, that's good to hear.
With that, I make a motion to approve the hiring of Kevin Scalise to the position of mechanic.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, we have another one from Human Resources, salary adjustment.
Yes, gentlemen, we have a note from Ms. Lyons regarding promotion of Mr. Caleb Dixon to the position of Chief Code Enforcement Officer in the township. This goes along with some restructuring we've done to place code enforcement into the Planning and Development Department. Mr. Dixon has done an excellent job as our current fire inspector, and we're all in agreement that deserves his promotion to run that bureau. This would be to promote Mr. Caleb Dixon, the Chief Code Enforcement Officer, and be to increase his salary to $53,830.40. This would be a retroactive effective date to January 25th, 2019.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Mr. Chairman, I got one more from
Yeah.
Ms. Lyons. As I previously noted, we have restructured the departments to put the Code Enforcement Office under Planning and Development. With those increased responsibilities, the recommendation is to have a 2% increase to Mr. Matt Waldinger, Director of Planning and Development. So this would be a motion to increase Mr. Waldinger's salary to $82,950.40, again retroactive to the effective date of January 25th, 2019.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, let's see here. Next item is a training request from the Public Works Department. Gary Snyder.
We are seeking permission to send Chris Brenner and Mike Zornberger to the PennDOT bituminous refresher course in State College on February 18th and 19th.
Okay.
The total cost as per itemized in the travel advance request is $854.67. They would be using a township vehicle for travel.
Okay.
I would recommend sending these two gentlemen to this refresher course.
Okay. Okay, any questions among the board? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve that training request.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Just want to amend that to the training request and the travel advance of $854.67.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, then, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, give me a second here. Anything else there, John? I think we're all set there. Okay, I have a couple here. My first one is from Parks and Recreation Department, comes from Ashley Marsteller. Subject is the 2019 PA Recreation and Park Society Conference. She's requesting to attend the Society Conference in State College, April 2nd through the 5th. The conference has 9 educational sessions, 2 keynote sessions, and a vendor exhibit hall. She has found this conference to be very beneficial and would like to very much attend it again. It is a budgeted item for this conference in the training expense account. She would recommend approval of her attendance at the conference. The cost of breakdown would be this: full conference, including meals, $390, 3 nights at the Penn State or Conference Center, $119, $357 plus state and local tax, and use of a township vehicle for travel. So I'll put that in the form of a motion to approve that training request. Do I hear a second on that?
A second.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. And let's see here, a couple things here. Executive sessions, we had one on February the 7th to talk over some legal matters with our solicitor.
Mr. Chairman, there was also one on February 6th.
Oh, yeah, February 6th, yeah, and 7th. February 6th and 7th, I'm sorry, I didn't get that on there. Just two other thing. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 other things. The state, the tax forms that we've traditionally held here in the township building and have had them available for the public, they're no longer available. We're not given those by the IRS or the State Department of Revenue or any of the agencies. Those are all online, as we have become a more online society here. So we don't have the ability to really print them off in numerous. My suggestion for anybody needing it would be to get somebody that can print those out for you, at their own home or something. So that's one of the things. And also, this just came about yesterday, and something very proud. This came out yesterday afternoon. We were notified, actually, from our Public Services Department, Jessica Stutzman and Judy Zolina, that Millcreek Township earned 3 awards from PSATs, which is the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors, in their 51st Annual Citizen Communication Contest. Contest entries are judged on the usefulness of the information presented and how well the information was communicated to the township residents, as well as on the attractiveness and readability. Millcreek Township took first place for its calendar, for the 2018 calendar, which is that right there. Hopefully you haven't thrown it away, because there's a really good artwork in it, and you can frame the pictures that are in it, and whatever. But anyway, so we came in first place for the calendar, called Greetings from Millcreek, in the other publication category, and won both second for the SafeNet and third place for recycling commercials for the Millcreek Government Cable Channel, which you've heard me say is on cable channel 1025 and also on the YouTube. So, and that's quite an honor for us to get. For those who do not know, Pennsylvania has 1,454 townships. Now, I'm going to guess that not all of them applied, or participated in this contest, but even if half of them did, or even a quarter of them, still is quite an honor for our people, and I want to commend them for their hard work and continue up that great work there. That's good. So, and I think that's all we have for me. Jim, up to you.
Yes, we have a litany of Millcreek Township police requests. I'll turn that over to Chief Height.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Hyde, real quick, have we found our missing officer yet?
We have not. I have not received an update, let's put it that way.
Okay.
All right, so who's the next guy on the hiring list?
Yes.
I have several training seminars and 3 purchases I'm requesting permission for. I can go through the training seminars first, if that's how you want to.
Yeah, I've reviewed these, and you can,
Okay.
condense them with the dollar amounts.
The first one was I'm seeking permission for Detectives Bolash and Schallenberger to attend a crime scene processing training seminar. It will be held at the Indiana Township Police Department in Allegheny County, April 22nd through April 24th. Travel would be by department vehicle, with total estimated costs at $1,312. The next one would be permission for Detectives Hardner and Fiorelli to attend a conducting death and homicide investigation training course. also at Indiana Township Police Department from April 10th through April 12th. Travel would also be by department vehicle, and it would be for the same amount, the $1,312 is the estimate there. Third one would be permission for Corporal Bucko to attend the evidence management for supervisors in Richfield, Ohio. It's a one-day seminar on April 4th. Travel will be department by department vehicle, and the total estimated cost is $230. That will assist him with the certification for the evidence management in our property room. The next one would be permission for 2 yet to be named officers to attend a conducting internal affairs investigation course March 11th and 12th at the Indiana Township Police Department. Travel will be also by department vehicle, and the estimated cost for that training is $1,293. And their next one would be permission for Detective Mays to attend EOD training sponsored by the Department of Army and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives in Oriskany, New York, April 4th through 12th. This training will fulfill his requirements to maintain his certification as an EOD disposal person, as he's a member of our regional EOD unit within the county. There are no registration and lodging costs for this, and travel will be by department vehicle. We're estimating those costs at $416.25. The last one will be a retroactive approval. Lieutenant Mitchell attended a UCR IBR training seminar that was held at the Pennsylvania State Police Academy in Meadville on February 6th and 7th. There was no cost for that training. However, we needed to be updated in IBR, which we don't currently use yet, but if we anticipate being eligible for any federal funding in the future, we're going to be required to change over from UCR to IBR. So those are the seminars I'm requesting permission for.
Any questions?
Chief, I have one question. In the event when these officers are going, especially an overnight trip, you said the department vehicle, are they taking a cruiser or an unmarked car on these trips?
And these particular ones would be unmarked car.
Okay.
We have some different ones that would give us better ability to carry things that they need with them.
Right.
With regard to the EOD training, he may take the marked bomb truck in that one.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve these 7 training requests with associated estimated costs.
Okay, I'll hear a second on that.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Excuse me. Okay.
Okay, the next 3 I'll do individually. We're requesting several purchases. The first one being approval to purchase desktop microphones, headsets, and headset bases for the next generation dispatch consoles. They would be purchased through Mobilecom, and that's the county-approved vendor on the next generation radio system, for a total price of $4,914. An itemized list was submitted prior to the meeting for your perusal.
Chief, are these updated equipment needed for the new
That's correct.
consoles?
Currently, we don't use equipment like that, and it was recommended to us by the vendor and by the county that this would be beneficial for our use in dispatching with the new console systems that we have received already.
Okay.
Okay. Do I hear that in the form of a motion, that request?
Put that in the form of a motion to approve that purchase.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
We include the price.
$4,914.
Okay. Do I hear a second on that? Being none, I'll call for the second. I'll second that motion. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Gentlemen,
next,
I just want to clarify that my no vote is, as I've expressed before, I have reservations about our township continuing dispatch services. We are the only municipality, I believe, in Northwest PA that does their own dispatch. I think the county is more than capable of handling our dispatch services, and it seems to me that the cost of dispatching with the new next generation consoles, just, it seems there's always an extra expense that's costing the township to implement this new technology that the county is utilizing, and it'd be more cost effective for us to simply allow the county to do this work for us. So I just want to clarify that that's the reason for my no vote.
Okay. So noted. Okay, there's another one on there too?
Two more.
Yeah, two more, okay.
Two more,
Chief.
yes. The next one would be our purchase of ammunition and various munitions for the department as well as the SWAT team. This purchase would be from Whitmer Public Safety Group for $19,197.99. I forwarded to the Supervisor Bach the itemized list of that equipment, and it is all under the PA state contract price.
Okay. Okay, do I hear a mo-
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of ammunition at $19,197.99.
Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Okay, and lastly, approval to purchase 2019 Ford Interceptors from TriStar Motors for $88,635. I've also forwarded a copy of that CoStar's quote as part of this request.
Okay. Okay, and those are budgeted too, I believe?
Yes,
Okay, yep, that's it.
This is a budgeted item, yes.
that's correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. You have a question, John?
Well, Chief, I just want to clarify, the 88, that's for all three vehicles? And
That's
and these are
three
not
vehicles without the equipment.
without the equipment, okay. I thought that seemed kind of low. Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve the purchase of the 3 Ford Interceptors from TriStar Motors.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Is that all you have there, Mr. Bach?
That is all I have from
Okay.
police.
Hannah, Student Ambassador Report, what do you have?
Good morning. I have two things. This past weekend, the two-time All-State cheer team was in Orlando, Florida, and they placed 6th at Nationals, which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So we welcomed them back today at school. And also this past weekend, the debate team competed at University of Pennsylvania, and they had many qualifiers for Nationals, which was also, including Shane, one of our
Shane,
other supervisors. So that's 19
Right.
points.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Thank
you. Okay, Mark Shaw.
Nothing further on my end.
Okay. Cheryl, our right to know report.
For the month of January, we had 2 requests. One was granted, one was partially granted, for a total of 2 hours spent and no cost to the township.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Puz, anything? Mr. Waldinger?
I do have one quick item. As you know, the township applied for a grant for the multi-use trail extension at the peninsula from where it ends on the peninsula to the Tom Ridge Center. We applied to PennDOT for multimodal funds for their grant. The awardees were listed by PennDOT last week, and unfortunately, the township was not included and was not awarded that grant. I want to make the board aware that there are 2 separate multimodal transportation funds. One is managed by PennDOT, and one is managed by the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. There is a grant round for the Department of Community and Economic Development that opens March 1st.
Okay.
We intend to apply for their multimodal transportation funds for the same project.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Chief, do you have anything? Anything
No,
else?
sir.
Okay. Gary Snyder? Nothing else. Nope. Okay. Citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard? Being none, call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, at 10:39. Okay, thank you.